Hi, welcome to another Seeing with Stars podcast. I'm Steph Johnson. This podcast is all about Mars as it makes a shift into Taurus and therefore shifts our energy. So Mars goes into Taurus on June the 9th and stays there until July 20th this year. And in this podcast, I want to explore what this means for us as individuals and what this means for the world in general, and also then go into where this is likely to be in your solar chart. I happen to think that as Mars goes from fiery Aries, where it really belongs and there's a lot of get up and go fast energy, as it shifts into Taurus, there'll be a noticeable energy shift. So we all might feel less impulsive and more deliberate in our actions. Taurus is an earth sign, and Taurians are known for, and Taurus is known for, steady and determined approach. So, during this period, you're likely to focus more on your goals, be more practical. So, going for goals in a slow and steady way rather than that fast Mars in Aries energy. Mars in Taurus encourages persistence and patience. So, if you've been feeling fired up recently, then this shift, this transit as we call it, could really help you and me channel our energy more effectively. Taurus is also associated with income and security and relates to material possessions and financial security, therefore. So we might, or you might, find yourself focusing on earning, budgeting, or acquiring assets. Interestingly, I follow a woman called Denise Duffield Thomas who talks about money mindset, and she has a big following. And just recently, she's done a podcast on the hare and the tortoise. And I think this is so fitting because if you know the story of the hare and the tortoise, they both go into a race. It's an Aesop fable. And the hare dashes everywhere and takes shortcuts. And of course, the tortoise goes slowly and steadily. So who wins the race? Well, when Mars is in Taurus, it's going to be the tortoise that wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. So we need to take a steady, slow, practical way forward during Mars in Taurus. We also need to make sure we're not too stubborn. Taurus is known for being stubborn, and Mars in Taurus can be. I always imagine with Mars in Taurus, you know those pictures of the donkey that doesn't want to be pulled along and it's kind of digging its heels in? Well, that's what we need to make sure of, that as we're still moving forward, that we might be taken out of our comfort zone somewhat, but Mars in Taurus is definitely about moving forward at a slow and steady pace and not being too stubborn, not digging in our heels and thinking, oh, we can outlast this. So we just need to be mindful of not being too rigid as the Mars energy moves into Taurus. So that's a little bit about what it means for us as individuals in general, and I will go into the solar chart. But let's also look at what does Mars in Taurus mean for the world community. So again, we'll hear a similar theme. Mars in Taurus encourages a methodical and a determined approach. So altogether, we may witness a focus on practical solutions, sustainable growth, and long-term stability. So Taurus as an earth sign is emphasizing tangible results and material well-being. So this means that during this transit, global economic matters could take center stage. So countries may make a priority of stability. Trade agreements might be in the news, and certainly financial trade, financial security will be high up there in the news headlines. Taurus is also connected with the natural world. So Mars in Taurus might inspire real global efforts to address environmental issues, conservation, and sustainable practices. So it's going to be very interesting to see the financial powers that be and what they're focused on as opposed to the environmentalists. Now, Mars is, and perhaps I should have said this at the beginning of the podcast, but Mars is all about energy and drive And let's not forget that Mars is the god of war. So we might see a real tussle between environmental issues and financial issues. Taurus being connected with nature and the land, and Mars being the god of war, we could also see some real battles coming out over land, territorial disputes. So, this is not the greatest of time for the Iran and Israel dispute because Mars being in Aries, as it has been, has seen that hot up, and Mars in Taurus is not necessarily going to see this calming down because the battle will be over land. Let's have another look at something a little bit more positive. Taurus is often associated with beauty, the creativity of beauty. So, arts and crafts from the point of view of a very tactile, earth like Taurus approach. So, during this transit, we might see some really lovely artistic expressions and cultural heritage, and perhaps a real appreciation of the arts come out. Countries around the world might really find ways of celebrating beauty, art, and crafts. So let's have a look at this for you and your solar chart. Now, your solar chart being you are an Aries, etc. So, in other words, what your sun sign is. Always remember too that you can look at what is your rising sign if you know your birth chart. But starting with Aries, this Mars transit in Taurus is in your second house of self-worth and money. So there's going to be a real need or drive to stabilize financial issues, to look at financial issues. Hopefully there's no battles over your income, pay rises or wages, etc. So we want you to be looking at ways that you can improve your self-esteem, improve your self-worth, but through slow and steady steps. You also might just want to look at how you protect, because let's not forget that Mars, as the planet of battles, yes, there can be a real greed, there can be a fighting for more, but there can also be a need to protect. So hopefully you can encourage self-worth, self-growth, and better financial situation for yourself, but also protect your personal wage. Now, Taurus, obviously, when you're a Taurus, Mars in Taurus, this is going to be all about yourself, how you assert yourself, how you step forward, how you provide for your own health and happiness. What motivates you? What brings you comfort? Yes, because Mars is about taking those strides towards giving you comfort, but also what helps you get out of your comfort zone if you've been stuck. This is what Taurus, if you have a sun sign in Taurus, this is what you're going to be looking at. What steps do you need to take to move forward slowly but surely in your personal life for greater health and happiness? Gemini rising, we're looking at what's going on behind the scenes. Do you have any people who are kind of, well, perhaps not working to your best interests? Or perhaps you have a whole team behind you who is working very much to support you. This is about making sure that you do have people behind the scenes who are supporting you and not to the contrary. We're talking practical support here because it's Mars in Taurus. We're also talking about, do you self-sabotage? So this month or this period of time from June to July, you need to look at ways that perhaps in the past you have self-sabotaged and make sure that you don't do that again. You might want to look at ways of slowing down with that Mars in Taurus. So in other words, meditation, prayer, taking time out for a retreat. This can be a time of rest for the Geminis. Cancer, this is about your friends. Do you know your true friends? Do you have a band of supportive friends who help you in practical ways? This is also about you taking practical steps to pursue your own hopes, dreams, and wishes. So you might now want to join a club or a group, or look at your role within a group or a club. Perhaps you want to change direction, go to a club that is more practical, perhaps a gardening club or a bowling club or something that's got that link to the land or the earth. Perhaps you also need to look at how you get your resources. So let's, for instance, take an example of you want to earn money. Are you actually out there networking and making sure that you've got money coming in that reflects your true skills? Leo, it's about your profession, your career, your standing in the community. This is about you making sure that you have a solid standing in the community. This is Taurus. So, are you taking steps that are practical, ones that further your career or that stabilize you in your public role? Do you need to take any action as far as your profession goes? Mars in Taurus at the height of your solar chart, it really is a good time to be taking solid steps that improve your lot in your own profession. Virgo, Mars in Taurus is in your ninth house of your solar chart. Now, this is connected to travel, religion, study, so there may be some action that you need to take in connection with these areas. But I'm also wondering if this is a really good time to goal set, to set some goals that are very practical. You may find that this is also a really good period during which to look at what motivates you. Perhaps it's connected to sport. Getting out and doing a sport gets you going in the right direction. Or perhaps you're motivating somebody else, that you need to pivot in your profession in a way that helps you teach or publish or take some practical steps towards those types of areas. It's also important to note that Mars is in a fellow Earth sign, so this can be very motivating. This can be a month during which you, yes, as I said before, setting goals is a really good way of doing it. Libra, we're looking at the circle of life. So we're looking at what stage of life are you at and what needs to change. Does anything need to change? Perhaps not. Could be how you invest your time and energy. Mars is all about energy and drive. So, are you utilizing your resources or other people's resources in a really positive way? Perhaps you need to reassess your financial resources with Mars in Taurus in this eighth house of your solar chart. Scorpio, whenever Mars goes into Taurus, it's opposite your sun sign. So this tells me straight away that other people are going to be coming into focus for you. Now, this could be some feisty discussions, some negotiations, either with business partners or with your primary personal partner. It's certainly about putting some energy into your relationship. And if you're single, this might be, well, somebody comes along, opposites attract. Could be that you're deciding, well, what do I want when it comes to a partnership or a relationship? Do I actually want to be in a partnership or a relationship? So there are some negotiations that you might be doing with yourself over that. But it's more likely that somebody else is there in that area of your chart, somebody who's taking that energy. Sagittarius, we're looking at health and co-workers and the minuscule things in life that need to be sorted. So it's time to get your house in order, not necessarily your personal home, but where you work. So if your desk is a bit messy, then Mars in Taurus is saying, come on, let's get motivated and let's clean it up. Let's get practical. Let's deal with all those long-awaited tasks that have been put to one side. But this can also be needing to work a few things out with co-workers, bringing things to, some things might be brought to light, or you might be bringing things to light that are to do with getting a clearer direction, perhaps clearer boundaries about who does what at work, or perhaps resolving some disputes that have arisen. This is about slow and steady negotiations. If you have also been putting off some health checkups, you might want to do that with Mars in Taurus, but I think it's more about looking at your daily habits. If you've been wanting to start an exercise regime, then slowly but surely you can do this during this period of time with Mars in Taurus in that sixth house of health in your solar chart. Capricorn, as I said for Virgo, Mars is in a fellow Earth sign. And this always augurs well for earth signs, because it's saying that if you're wanting to get motivated, that you can slowly and steadily work along towards whatever you are wanting to do. Now, for Capricorn, it's in that fifth house. The fifth house is about romance. So it's possible that there is a sensual, it being Taurus, romance that is being sparked. It's also about children. So perhaps a male child is needing some extra attention, or you're needing to resolve a dispute with somebody over children, or you've decided to take a direction of working with children. Your goal is something to do with children. It's also about romance, so you could spark a new romance, and it's about creativity. So this is a time when you're more likely to be planning planning something creative, or working towards your craft, rather than that real fun kind of, like when Mars was in Aries, there would have been that real spark of creativity. Now it's kind of okay, we've had the planning, we've had the sparks, and now I'm just needing to step by step, perfect my craft. You're perfecting your craft during this period of time. Aquarius, Mars is sitting in that sector of your chart that's all about home and family. Now, this could literally be you renovating or building, because it's Taurus, and Taurus is practical. It could be about you getting out in the garden, because Taurus is an earth sign. It could be about you getting a home gym, although I think you would have started that with Mars in Aries perhaps. But this is about you looking at your home and your family. Yes, maybe resolving some disputes with children or with other family members. But it's also, you might feel a real urge to get your house in order, literally tidying things, painting things, maybe redecorating, because Taurus is about beauty as well. But also, if you're really dissatisfied with your house, then you may even think about moving. But it's got to be a solid plan. Taurus is solid. Mars is action, so solid action. Pisces, we're looking at Mars being in the third house of your solar chart. So this is about you really getting a positive mindset, of making sure that you are gathering your thoughts in a way that is motivational and positive, and that if you do feel that you're a little bit off key, then you need to find some mental projects that really keep you positively focused. You also need to look at your relationship with siblings, resolve any disputes there if you can, and make sure that things are on a solid ground with neighbours as well. You might even formulate some really positive plans to express yourself in a new way, or even further in a way that you already have. So, in other words, if you've been wanting to write or to paint or to do something crafty, but this is about keeping your mind focused and working towards something that is more mental than necessarily emotional. Emotional is usually your way, because you're a sensitive Pisces, but this is about you getting a really solid goal or objective when it comes to something that you are involved with that keeps your mind positive. So that's it for the sun signs. And as I said, please look at your rising sign as well, as this will be really handy for that. And if you want to know more about your birth chart, please remember that I also have consultations and a consultation booking forms on my website. I'm Steph Johnson. Thanks for listening.